Okay, Lauren, if you can be on.
I'm good.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. And here we go for our wonderful celebrity Juice Plus call. And I'm extremely excited to welcome Lauren Slocum with us this evening, National Marketing Director in America. They don't have PMD over there, so she is top of the top. But when I tell you that she's 100 Club, then you'll realize the amazing dizzy heights that she's achieved. And Lauren, I just remember, I think it was your talk that you gave in Bournemouth. Was it Bournemouth? I mean,
Bournemouth.
That was mind-blowing. Did you feel like you got a great response from the crowd and the audience that day?
Well, I felt like I really connected. I think that people really understood that I've been the road, that we've all been the road.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the reason why. But, I mean, before anything, I really just want to thank you, James, and Gordon and Michelle, because I remember one of the first times I came over to the UK and I said I wanted to build a UK business. And we did that event in London in that tiny room. And that's probably one of the most profound moments I've ever had about just the amazing support we have around the world with regards to sideline support. So I just want to thank you, the three of you, for always being such amazing examples for me to really set the pace and to show me what was possible.
Well, that's very, very kind of you. But I mean, frankly, you have gone ahead and you've just set an absolutely ferocious pace. And within a very relatively short period of time, you've gone all the way to the top. And, the thing is, and what's going to be very interesting is that you're not Gen Y. You look Gen Y, but you're not Gen Y, believe it or not. And so I think people are going to be even more intrigued as to how you've achieved such vast success. And so, because obviously we have the offline and the online, and some people are thinking all the time, oh, I must be online, I must be online. But we will hopefully learn during the call, really, where your success has come from. And I know you've got such amazing energy that anyone you talk to, you will sort of get them excited. So, yeah. So let me just ask you the first question, to help everyone. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. So I have worked for Tony Robbins for the past 28 years. Can you guys hear me? It says that my internet's unstable. So I've worked for Tony Robbins for the past 28 years. I'm in Fiji teaching a program here called Life Mastery. And I started with in the production department, and then I went on to create the crew program. And then in 2001, Tony asked me to move to Fiji and launch basically a cleanse program. So we lived here for 2 years. We were teaching about 36 one-week-long programs a year. And I did that for 2 years straight. And then I went back to the United States and started another business. I've written several books. And I think the biggest thing is that I've always been, I love to build team. I love to really, help people kind of find their gift. And so a little bit of my story, if you don't know my story, all of you, is that I heard about NSA back in 1989. And I was working 3 jobs to kind of stay above ground in Southern California. I was in my 20s. I'll be 52 next month. And honestly, I feel better in my 50s than I did in my 20s. So Michelle, you've been a great example for me as well, of someone who just vibrates energy. So someone sold me a water filter, but they said, we're going to come. They called it the puppy dog approach. You've probably heard of it, that you try the water filter and they come get it at the end of the week. So my friend, his name's Steve Sherman, he came back and he said, I'm going to take the water filter back. I'm like, no, you're not. And so I bought it from him and I started telling all my friends. I said, where do I tell my friends to get this? And he said, have them come see me. So then about 6 months later, he said that there was a big party in Memphis, Tennessee, and if I wanted to fly to Memphis. So I was like, yeah, party, I'll go. So I remember going to the Peabody. I probably met you guys there. And I met all of these great people. And then he goes, hey, well, while you're here, why don't you just stay? There's a conference. And I'm like, okay. So I went in the conference and took notes, and I'm like, oh my God, this is about those water filters. I'm like, this is a business. And I was really upset that he never shared the business with me. And so I was very arrogant for a long time. I was like, I will never do anything with network marketing. And so then about 10 years ago, I've been friends with Jeff Roberti. He's been coming to Tony's events for a long time. And the one thing that I love the most about Jeff is he understands the power of building relationships. And 17 years ago, let me backtrack a little bit. Jeff, when my son was born, I remember seeing these 24 red roses come around my, the front door, and it was from Jeff. And he said, congratulations on your baby boy. So, that was 17 years ago, but realize that I didn't say yes to Juice Plus until 10 years ago. And I was teaching the same program I'm here in Fiji teaching. And I basically work 14-hour days, 6 days straight. When I'm here at the program, I have a 3-hour break, and that's it. So I've been teaching these 3 events back to back, and my daughter was just 3 months old, and I was exhausted. I love what I did, but I was exhausted. And they were introducing these new health products, that Tony was introducing these new health products, and I was interviewing the doctor. And I said, well, what can I take? Because I'm nursing. This was after the event was over. And she goes, you can't take any of these products if you're nursing. I'm like, well, what can I give my kids? She goes, you can't give your kids any of these products. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to recommend anything with contraindications. And Jeff overheard me having this conversation. And he said, Lauren, you can give your kids Juice Plus, and you can take Juice Plus. And I was like, oh my God, go away with your fruits and vegetables. I'm the nutritionist. I'm the one that teaches these cleanses. You don't know anything. And as I was talking to Jeff, he goes, look, just come to our conference. And the conference started in Memphis 2 days later. Now imagine I've been gone for 3 weeks already. My other boys were back home. And I'm like, I'm too busy. I don't have time. I don't know this and that. I mean, look, we've got Liverpool coming up in a couple weeks. I'm sure you guys have already heard some of those excuses from people. And I had a divine intervention, I would say. And my friend Amanda, who was diagnosed with lupus, was calling me as I was talking to Jeff. And he goes, Lauren, please just come to the event. And I'm like, I can't. And then she called back, and I looked at my phone and I said, Jeff, I'm coming to your conference. And he goes, what got you to change your mind? And I said, look, I'm not going to do the business. I'm already busy. I'm writing my second book. I'm busy, teaching these events, blah, 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 blah. I had a whole list of excuses of why I couldn't do the business. And I said, but look, I'll go to your conference, because if all it does is help my friend Amanda, then it's worth it. So I got on a plane, flew to Memphis. I saw that, the Juice Plus was a large contributor to the St. Jude Marathon, and I contribute 200 of my books every year to St. Jude. I saw that Dr. Sears was a speaker, and I'm like, oh my God, I love Dr. Sears. And I felt like I was in that movie, Bruce Almighty, like show me the signs, and the signs are everywhere. Everywhere I went, there were signs that I needed to be part of this. And then I sat in the front row, and, we do here in the United States, we do the national marketing director speeches, and they were in Ro Melnikov had lupus, and she was telling her story, and I just started crying, and I started calling people right there at conference. I didn't wait till I got home. I didn't wait to learn everything about the products. I knew that, Jeff was, he was still in the game, and I called people and I said, look, I don't know, but this sure makes sense to me. And literally while I was at conference, and I called the people I loved and cared about the most. And then, before I'd even signed a distributor application, I already had 14 new distributors and 5 new customers. And so for me, it just seemed really, I was like, well, I guess I better sign an application. And, I asked Jeff, I'm like, how many countries are we in? And he was like, thanks, Lauren, just build locally. And I'm like, no, why would I build just locally? I go, I know people around the world. So right from the moment, I just started thinking, if we're an international company and we have the opportunity to build internationally, I did. So I don't really remember again. I know I went to VF that day, to SC in a couple weeks, because we didn't have the bonuses back then. And you guys know, I just got on the planes and I flew anywhere. Even when people would tell me not to go, I would go anyway. And I just followed what Jeff and Cheryl told me to do. I said, tell me what I need to do. I go, I'm a very creative person. Tell me what I need to do. I did, though. You're talking about social media. I did use social media to add value. from the very beginning, because I was doing these events, and in between the 3-hour time period that I would have, I had to connect with people somehow. So that was 10 years ago. I really started to use social media just more by what can I do to add value, and people started seeing my life. But I just got busy, and I started thinking about not so much me getting a national marketing director, but who was the first person I was going to get to national marketing director. I think the minute that I stopped thinking about me and started thinking about everybody else that I could help, I was addicted to the business. So that's
wow.
long story.
That's amazing. I mean, the couple of things that really, really jump out to me. First of all, Jeff played a very, very long game with you, which is incredible when you think, you know, people will very often give up with people after a week or a month, but there it was, 17 years. But the other thing I think, Lauren, that people will be very, very interested to learn is, what did Jeff and Cheryl tell you to do when you got going? So when you asked the question, what do I need to do? What did they tell you?
The two things important that you said, what did they tell me, and what was I willing to listen to, right? So the first thing was, they said, conferences are non-negotiable, absolutely non-negotiable. You just need to schedule them for the next year, the next couple of years. So I found out where the conferences were, and I scheduled them. As you guys know, I've been coming to Europe. I'll be there in Liverpool. So conferences are non-negotiable. If you were to buy any kind of franchise, any franchise, if you have to go to those conferences, like, we don't require people to go, but if you don't go to a McDonald's franchise conference, you lose your franchise. If you're not on the training calls, you're not able to be a franchisee. So we have that flexibility, but I think sometimes that flexibility hurts people to really not go for it, and they don't take it as serious as they need to in this business. So conferences are non-negotiable. The other thing that they said was I needed to build a front line as wide as I could go. Now, that was the best advice that they gave me. Obviously conferences, but what I thought, that's why I put on 14 people, in my first week, front line, because as you know,
Lauren, sorry to interrupt you. Where did those people come from? I mean, some people say, "Oh, did you go online? What were you doing? Had you written a list?"
No, I called the people that I made a list of everybody I know, loved, and cared about. And then Cheryl had a profile sheet where she just fill out these profile sheets. And as I was writing about what I loved about these people, I was like, man, I feel like it's a responsibility to call these people. So I did, I called people that, like I said, that I loved and cared about. I called my first friend. I called Amanda. I said, I don't know, but it sure makes sense to me. I go, you can either go on the product, or if you're going to love it so much, you're going to want to share it with other people. I call my friend Mickey Knowles. Her daughter has a disease called spinal muscular atrophy. It's the number 1 genetic killer. And I knew that it would, and her daughter was just a couple years old. Now her daughter just yesterday turned 14, I called my friend Jen Steinman, that you guys might know. She's the one that created the movie, The Desert Runners. She heard Dave O'Brien and myself give our NMD speeches, and she's like, that guy's a character. So I called people that I cared about, and I didn't know how it was going to play out. I called, Jerry McKinney was my third call. He didn't originally, want to do anything. I didn't even have Susie. I thought Susie, like, oh, she's already busy. She's already doing her thing. So that was after I'd become NMD. Our team had become NMD. I had Linda Evenden on my friend Linda Evenden from, she lives in Australia now, but she lived in Las Vegas with me. And so I had her, and she signed up, and I really did do kind of the family plan, because you never know when times. I had my friend Joni LaRue, and out of those 14 people, 2 went to work. My friend Vanessa, my friend Joelle. And so of those people, it's just like anything, 85% of the people are going to just be raving fan customers. They might recommend a couple people. They might put on a couple distributors, and that's important. And then you're going to have that 10% that are going to do something. And if you're not wide enough, you can't do that. So
it was really all out. It was really all out massive action, wasn't it? But what was your sort of? I mean, you said that 2 people went to work, right? Which is very interesting. But what was your first really big breakthrough where you thought, right now, this is really moving?
From the beginning. I hate to say it, and I know people don't want to hear it, but I got serious. I said, Jeff's whole thing: either give it a strong yes or a strong no, but no wishy-washy, dilly-dally stuff in the middle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to go to work. And the reason I did it, I don't know if you guys, I've been an independent contractor for all of these years, which means I had to pay for my health insurance every month. And the medical program here in the US, the benefits program, is a really was a big motivator for me, because it was costing me about $1,500 a month, and I didn't have eye or dental. So that was a big thing. And so I'm like, well, I could go to work for that. And I knew a lot of other people that had been independent contractors, and that was important for them. So I really listened. I got on Cheryl's calls. She said, I do a call. She did a call every Monday night. I started a call every Monday night after her call. I created a DMO that I have followed the exact same DMO since I started the business, and I can send you a copy of that. Well, you guys should have it. I gave it to you guys years ago.
Yeah.
I printed them out. I printed it out years ago when I would come to the UK. I'd give it to everybody. So,
can you just tell us a little bit about that, the DMO? Because I think people would be very interested if you just got, just a rough overview of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really simple. And like I said, it's the exact same thing that I did when I started the business, because a lot of people are like, oh, of course you're going to go to NMD. And I'm like, I still have to, so many people. I'm like, I still have to call them. I still have to do the work. I still have to do all those things. So I created that sheet for everybody to realize how simple it is. So what do? I talk to at least 2, 3, 4 people a day about the business or the product. I follow up with people. I treat the business like a business. I put my Juice Plus out everywhere that I go. Not here because I can't, because it's a conflict of interest, but like while we're on the call. But, if I'm out to lunch or I'm out to breakfast, I'm out and I put my Juice Plus out and I have it proud. I make sure to add value on Facebook. I follow up with birthdays. I always send a message on Facebook saying, wishing you a happy, healthy, wealthy year. And people go, oh, what's she doing? Then I make sure to connect with my upline. I connect with Cheryl every day, still now, 10 years later. It's just a text, or it might be a phone call that says, hey, what's going on? Here's who I'm talking to. I look and see what events are coming up. I make sure that I do at least, I make sure that I do at least 2 3-way calls a day, even from here. Like, I'm doing this from here too. So as I'm working these long days, so they're non-negotiables for me. And it's unbelievable. Like, I think the biggest thing is you've got to get in line and stay in line. You've got to decide at what level you really want to do this. I keep people hanging around the flagpole. You know what I mean? Just because someone's, not doing the business now doesn't mean they're never going to do the business, or they're never going to take the product. I had a friend of mine that she sees me doing these she's seen how consistent I've been. And she messages me on Facebook and she's like, sign me up. And I'm like, sign you up for what? She goes, sign me up for that Juice Plus. I've been watching you for 9 years. She's never commented on anything. She's never posted anything on my page. And she's one of the top, physical therapists, in the state that she lives. So I think you have to just show people that that's what I do on a daily basis, other than when I'm working here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that, I'm here, I'm working, but on those 3-hour breaks, I'm working on my business. Yeah. I can't tell you, I was up at, this morning at, doing those things until I finished them, which was following up with people. I don't go to sleep until I make sure that I do all those things I've committed to on my DMO sheet.
Wow. Now, Lauren, you're developing a really massive team, aren't you? And one of the, hey, look, that looks great. One of the, so that's I know that you've got a huge team in Australia. Can you talk us through how that developed? Because some people will say, well, how does a big team like that develop? How did that come about? Because, I know that you've got a huge business over there. What happened to create that?
Well, originally, as I just shared, my friend Linda Evenden, she was living in the United States. She was living in Las Vegas with me. Not with me, but she was living in Las Vegas, and her husband I went over to Australia before. I was actually originally went to Australia to go work with another friend of mine, who is now actually back in the business, just as of last week. But I originally went over to work with that person. And then they were, it was hard back then. It's kind of like a little bit like you guys, like have really, you and Gordon and, all those guys have really, and Stu have really been there. You've got, like I said, stayed in line. And so you've been there through the ups and the downs and the trends and all those things. So the same thing I think was happening over in Australia, that was happening over in the UK. I mean, you guys just stayed strong. So I went to work with my other friend, and Linda was one of those 14 people that I signed up. She was a raving fan customer. Her and her, husband, and they were taking the product. She had 2 more Juice Plus babies. They were leaving to move back to Australia. And so she's like, well, maybe I should do this to make a couple $100 a month. And so I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I hooked her up and I went over there and I started doing events with her. And she met great people. She's got an amazing work ethic. And, she was very patient. It wasn't easy to break through. And now, she's got unbelievable leaders. She set a great, foundation for them. But remember, she did nothing. She didn't do anything for 3 years. She was in the business and did nothing. That's why. But think about this. If I had just signed her up as a customer, would she really be the distributor that she is today? If I hadn't made sure that I told her about the business and the product. That's why I'm hugely committed to making sure to give people a choice to tell them about the product, but also to tell them about the business, and if they say no, then that's their.
And what got her moving?
What?
Lauren, what got her moving? You say she was in the business for 3 years. What got her going, really?
Well, once she got a buddy, she got Fee. Fee was a girl that she met, and Fee started to develop a team. So I think once you find a buddy, it's the most important thing. I think she had amazing support, just as you guys have amazing support. Celine was amazing support, and she did events. Started doing. Her and Fee were doing a ton of events. Then another girl named Christine came along, and they started really moving. And then same thing with Linda. She was really great. She's great at building relationships. And there's a guy named Adam Westwick, and Adam got going in the business, and then and so she just started. Anthony and Kate Golay, some other friends, and so that people started saying like, wow, they really wanted to be a part of that movement. And for them, it was really about community. And all of those people, you guys, are not Gen Yers, just so you know. Every single one of those people that I'm telling you are not Gen Yers. They're in their late 30s, early 40s. So, they're moms and dads, and our friend Kate and Anthony. I've known them a long time, and he's a chiropractor, and he just was tired of, his brick and mortar businesses. And he had 4, and he just sold his last one. And now both of them are 100 Club members now. They got serious. Nobody played around with this. Not nobody, but the real leaders, they really are like, I'm going to do this. And they put their goggles on, as I say. They put their goggles on and they swam. They just stayed focused. They didn't let the naysayers get to them. They knew that people needed them more than, the people needed them more than they needed those people. And that's the biggest belief. So
yeah, so
they're very good. They're very consistent, extremely consistent.
Yeah, that's a great message there. That consistency, I absolutely love that. Now, in about over the next 7 minutes, we're going to open it up to questions. And so I'm going to ask everyone that if you've got questions, now this is an unbelievable opportunity to be asking questions of Lauren now. So if you've got particular questions, you put that in the chat box, and I'll ask Lauren those questions when we get just over the hour. So we've got about 6 minutes to that. So please come up with your questions, because that will...
I want to say one other thing, James, is I think really important for people is you've got to stay humble in this business, as in life as well. Because, you remember when the UK was really... When we were rocking, and we had, I think I had 6 people walk the stage as NMDs, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. But you still have to do the work. You still have to, what's my vision? Somebody wants to know. Are you going to ask me in a minute?
Yeah.
But you still have to, you have to do the do. You need to be your best distributor. You really do. That means putting on new customers, putting on new distributors. You need to do the do every single day. People have got it. You've got to be the best example for yourself and the team. And I think that, for a while, if I look at it, my business in the UK grew like crazy, right? And people are like, what are they doing over there in the UK? Right? And then what happened? Then things just kind of they kind of leveled out. And then I was like, oh my God, I got to really freaking keep working. And so then that's when kind of the Australia started taking off, or, all of those type of things. So it's just building relationships, build great relationships with people. Really listen to people and what they really need. But I think without a great work ethic and without a vision, and getting off your butt, getting off your ass and going to work, those are the things that are really important. So,
That's amazing, Lauren. So as we just finish up this portion of the call, I think a lot of people are going to be interested in thinking, Lauren is unbelievable. She's just achieved so much. But what would you say are your top tips for success? What would you say are your 2, 3, or 4 absolutely gold tips you think, look, this is something that I learned. I wish I'd learned it earlier, but now I've really got hold of this, and this is an absolutely key for me. What would you say are some of your absolute top tips for success?
I would say I wish from the beginning that I would have understood clubs. I would have focused more on clubs than building for position, because with clubs, understanding that you're really helping people to, create. If I focused on building more like how many people can I get to 3 club, then that would, and that means making an extra $1,000 a month. If I had focused more on clubs, I think that my, that business would have even grown faster, and I would have had even more of an impact at the very beginning. So instead of focusing on positions, I think that was a big thing. Once again, I'm going to go back. I mean, not that it's something I wish I would have done, but really the width, you got to keep going wide. You have to keep going wide. One, and then the other thing, is that events, you got to build, really build event. I would do more events, really do more events. I think that whether it's a Zoom event or it's a one-on-one, where, I think that you can never do too many events ever. I was looking yesterday, I was telling somebody here, I was just smiling as I was looking at my phone, and I was like, wow, I've got a team that's doing an event right now. They're at the Warsaw event. I had people that were at the Dubai event. I had people, obviously, Lyndon, those guys put on an event, a 90-day game plan event, with over 600 people in Australia. I had an event going on in San Francisco. I had an event going on in Canada, right? So I think also you're not raising an orphanage. You need to teach people to be as independent as quickly as possible. And that's the key. That's the key. You know what I mean? You got to help other leaders rise. So, and help them become independent as quickly as possible.
And Lauren, how do you keep on top of all the events and where they all are? Because obviously some people are going to be saying, I've got people in these places, but maybe I don't know enough about where the events are. Where do you go to find out where all the events are that people can plug into?
I get curious. I see different people. That's a hard one. I make sure I'm on it. I make it a priority. Every week I'll look and I'll know where my team is. And I'll go look and see who's doing events, and I'll tell them about those events. I'll go the Voxer group in the United. I don't know if you guys are on Voxer, but Voxer as well is a great one. I got to get in another room because someone else is getting on a call. Voxer is a great resource as well. To see what events, all the NMDs they'll put on where their events are, and people can plug in that way. So now you're going into the seminar room. Okay.
Goodness. Right. Are we going to get a shot of the beach?
Okay. I'll give you a shot of the beach if you want. Hang on a second. Let me go outside for a second, and I'll take you all to Fiji.
Yep.
Go to Fiji. From the UK to Fiji. Hang on. It's a little windy today.
Oh, wow.
It's raining too, so I got to get back inside.
Okay. Well, look, Lauren, we're going to come up to once you get settled, we're going to come up to the question and answer bit now.
I'm settled. I can take it.
Yeah,
I'm on the road. I'm on the road.
We've never had a call like this where the speaker is walking around the room, but it's very exciting. Okay, so, all right. So, so here we go. So Chloe Myers asks, Lauren, what's your tip for talking about the business and sharing the opportunity?
I think the biggest thing, and it's a skill you have to, the biggest thing you have to find out what's important to them. You have to find out what's important to them. Everybody's got a wound that they want to hear. I'll share a little tip that I share with everybody. It's called bend WIM. B, what do people believe? What do they believe about you? What do they believe about, about building a business like this? What do they believe? E is how do they evaluate? It means how do they judge? They're judging based on you. They're looking at you and saying, are they, is she getting results with it? Or is she Are they evaluating, maybe you've lost, your health's gotten better. So how do they evaluate? And what do they need? Do they need to know that there's an opportunity for them to work this business part-time, full-time? D, what do they desire? So people will do more for their desires than they'll do for their needs. So if you were to say to a friend, when you're talking about the business, you'll find out if I could help you, pay for a cash vacation, that you want to take with your family over Christmas, would that be something you would be interested in learning more about? I find out what's going on versus, I want to paint a vision for them of what's really possible. And then you find out what their pain is. So I listen to people. I build relationships. I also, like you said, guys, it took Jeff 17 years to get across from me. So I think that people, they give up way too soon, or they think, oh my gosh, they're not listening. They're pushing a business on people or a product versus just listening to what that person really wants. If you've got something of what someone wants and needs without them knowing that they need it, then you've got a great opportunity. So talking about the business, I don't know. It's very organic for me. I mean, I'm going to pull up my phone and see if I can pull it up. No, I have a list of 200. I have 200 something people on my drip list right now. I mean, I've got names already of people that they haven't said yes yet, but I still have over 200 people on that list.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm making sure to follow up with those people because there's a couple, there's people that like, I look for the wounds. So like, let me just use an example about business wise. So Florida, right? Look what just happened in Florida or Puerto Rico. And people lost their businesses and they have literally nothing to go home to, nothing. So, there was, even a couple here, they were just talking about how they lost everything, and they don't know what to do because they've been so attached to all their big clients were there. So like when I think about my friends in Florida, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's my responsibility to really tell them about this so they could, they're not tied to their brick and mortar, but I ask them questions about what do they want, what do they see for the future, what's most important to them, and then I find out if it's a fit or not, right?
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Anyway.
That's fantastic. So thank you very much indeed for that. So, that is really cool. So Patrick from Sweden wants to ask, what's your best tip for building the team? So you spoke a little bit about having a movement, having a community, but what is your best tip for really bringing a team together and developing a team?
Well, I think there's one that have a really big vision, So like I was very clear with people that that was about building an international business to help people get as independent as quickly as possible. I will tell you this, and maybe, I know some people have great success with kind of like building that movement and building that whole thing. I would rather set the foundation and then let them build their own movement. You know what I mean? Like, because what resonates for people is different. So like, I want people to know that YOLO, which is our team, is that kind of foundation, but that the outcome for us within that organization is not that everybody has to follow what we do, but rather that it inspires them to be an independent leader to create their own movement as well, right? Like they plug in, it's kind of like the mothership, like hopefully I like to see it as the mothership. And then people though start their own kind of, so I think that letting people know that they have an opportunity to shine as well by creating their own thing, right? Like, and it's just like, we're kind of the place for them to come and bring what they're creating to celebrate, to back together. And we're a resource for them, but we're not the only thing for them. So I think letting people know that you're helping them be an independent leader. Yeah. And that's what I would say, because I think so many times people go, well, you create a movement. Well, I want to create my own movement, right? And then you have to kind of, Cheryl's been really great about that, is that, like every Monday morning, since I've become an NMD, every Monday morning at 7:30 in the United States, all of Cheryl's NMDs, we get together on a call every Monday at 7:30 in the morning. And those calls have, 50 NMDs on them. And so what ends up happening is all those people have their own movements, if you would, but Cheryl's that mothership, Cheryl and Jeff are that mothership, if you would, people plug into. Yeah. So I really want, that's a big thing for me. I want to raise other leaders.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great, Lauren. So Katie Matheson asks, Lauren, how do you overcome people being afraid to bring in team members early if they feel they don't know enough themselves? You know, so people may be a little bit nervous about moving because they feel like they need to know more. How do you help people overcome that?
Well, Ryan, you play. Look, I don't know, but you use the line that I used. I don't know, but this sure makes sense to me. You know, I don't know, but you can sure make sense to me. It's if you don't have the confidence in it, then you're not going to be able to share that confidence with people. So, like I said, if you really heard my story, which I hope you guys really, really heard my story, was that Cheryl always says this, there's only two kinds of people who need money and people who want more of it, right? Because it gives you more choices with regards to everything, right? So for me, maybe, you know, I mean, I always tell people about both. And the reason I tell them about both is because, you know, most people, are living fake news, right? They are. Most people are. They, you know, it's like we want to put out there that everything's all rosy and everything's all fabulous and everything's all this and that. You know, an example of that I would say is, you know, I had this guy who I was working with, and he came to me this was years ago, maybe 6 years ago. There's a background noise. I don't know if that's you, James. And he came to me, and I go, look, I was working with him for 2 days, and he goes, look, he had this big business, a big website, big all these things, and talking about how wonderful his business was. And then I said, well, look, I'm going to have to get on a couple calls the 2 days that you're here. So he would overhear me being on my calls, my team calls or training calls. And so he would overhear me as I was doing that. And he goes, maybe I should sign up for that stuff. You know, maybe I should just sign up. I'm like, yeah, maybe you should. I said, you should probably get your wife and, you know, your kids on it because you can do the children's health study. So he went, and I go, well, if we're going to sign you and your wife up and your son, you might as well, you know, you're going to love it anyway. You might as well get going for $50 so you get paid on your own products. And so he's like, all right, I'll do that. So the next month he calls me and he goes, I have to apologize to you. Now he was paying me big money, just so you know, a lot of money every month to do this coaching with him. He goes, I just want to call you and I want to apologize to you. He goes, I've been living a lie. He goes, I've been living off credit cards for the past 5 years. And he said, and I went and got my check. I went to the mailbox to get my check. I didn't realize I was going to get, you know, a check for taking my own product. He goes, and my check was for $78. He goes, and I went to the bank and cashed that check. And he goes, and it's the first cash I've had in my hand in 4 years.
Wow.
So, and that's just one, you know, but if you were to look at this guy's life and you'd be like, oh, he's got a big landscaping business and look at all these people that he's this and that. And he was living on credit cards. So I really believe that it's a responsibility. You just have to be elegant. It's not going to be that first exposure. Might not be the second exposure. You know, my one friend I told you that finally said yes after 9 years, she was watching, she was seeing what I was being able to do, and she got curious. But you have to be patient. I don't think people are patient enough, you know, to really do it, and they give up way too soon. I mean, I can't tell you how many people, you know this, how many people give up way too soon, and they haven't seen a vision. If your vision's not big enough, you know, and then if you're not willing to do, you can have a great vision, but if you're not doing the activity that it takes, you know, it's never going to happen. So if you're just going to be counting on everybody else to build that vision for you, so you gotta be that vision, and you got to do the work that it takes to build that vision. So
yeah, now
I hope this is helpful. I see. Is everybody just frozen? I hope I'm adding
no,
because nobody's muted.
It's all great. It's all great. Everybody else is on mute. I know it's a bit odd, you know, but we don't get the response. But I can see the questions coming in. I think one question, you know, well, there's one question that's come up here about social media. I just want to ask you, what proportion of your business has come through social media, or are you principally just adding value through social media to the people that you already know?
Oh, I'm never talking about the products. I so rarely talk about the products on my social media page, like so rarely. I mean, I don't know. I could probably count the number of times that I've talked about the products on social media. You know what I mean? I rarely talk about it. It's all about adding value. Some girl just signed up in Canada, and I'm like, so who's your sponsor? And she's like, you're my sponsor, you know? She goes, I saw a friend of mine who's a friend of yours on social media, and I went and kind of checked you out, and I decided that I wanted to work with you. And I'm like, all right, okay, well, let's work together. You know what I mean? So it's people look and they go, wow, you know, she's really doing the do. And I work, you know what I mean? I work. My friend's here in the room, Rocky, you know, and I mean, she's seen me in the game since the very beginning, you know, and she's here and she's dabbled, you know, but I work. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but well, you've got a fantastic energy there, Lauren. You really do. So Helen Montague Smith wants to ask, and we're just sort of coming up really to the end of the call now. What is your vision for the future of Juice Plus? What do you really see about where this is going?
Wow, I just think we are so blessed. I mean, you know, I had an opportunity to go to an event. It was a small event, 100 people. It was amazing. It was a Eric Worre event called Beyond Leadership, and the last day, the last day, we were all sitting around like a U, and then Eric would take each person, bring them the meal, do kind of like a personal coaching, like in front of everybody else. And I started hearing all these other companies. I'm not going to mention any names, but I like heard all these other companies talking about like the challenges that they have. And all of us from like, they were there from Juice Plus, were like, we don't have any of those challenges. Like we are freaking so lucky. Like I think we don't realize how good we have it with this company at all. Like if you could have heard these stories, I can't tell you because it was kind of like one of those in the vault, you're not supposed to talk about it things. But like, you know, we got up there and like each one of these people with Juice Plus, we get up there and like, honestly, like I feel really good right now. I feel really inspired, you know, about where we're going. So I have so much certainty with regards, first of all, with this company, which I think is important for all of us. You know, I mean, we always know that they're going to be on the cutting edge with regards to everything that they're doing. For me, with the vision, I think that we've freaking just gotten started. Now with the new Omegas, I mean, you know, I mean, this is foundational. I mean, you look and you buy a house, you know, every person should be on our products. Every person, you know, I never talk about it at these events, but you know, it's heartbreaking when I hear people talking about issues that that their kids are having, and I know our products can help, you know. So I know our products are amazing. I mean, Tower Gardens, every home should have a Tower Garden, you know, especially you look at, once again, of just all the challenges that people are having with regards to herbicides and pesticides with their foods. So, you know, I think that the future for me, what I see is I really, you know, I was saying to somebody, sorry, if I seem scattered, it's just because there's so much movement around and
that's right.
Talk. I would say that, you know, the biggest thing for me is on my 45th birthday, which was 7 years ago, I was in Israel at one of Tony's events. And Tony, he asked me, he goes, who's the person? He kind of did this thing called the story of your life. And he asked me about all these different stages in my life. And then he asked me, he goes, age 40 to 45, who's the person that's made the biggest difference in your life? And I said, Tony, you've made a huge impact in my life, but 40 to 45, the person that's made the biggest impact in my life is Jeff Roberti. And he knew Jeff. And he said, wow, Lauren, you know, why Jeff? And I said, you know why, Tony? Because he, honest to God, wants to see me more successful than him. And I think the biggest, without crying, I think the biggest honor, the biggest way I could thank Jeff Roberti is to be wildly successful and help other people become wildly successful in this business. So if you ask me about the vision for this company, I'm never giving up. You know, I'm never stopping, ever. I'm never stopping with this business. One, because I've seen way too many amazing things happen with people with their health. I've seen way too many things happen with what people can do with an extra $1,000 a month. I mean, a girl I know, she's like, I can't, you know, I've been working this and I'm only making $1,200 a month. I go, okay, so you're making $1,200 a month. You're making $13,000 a year, an extra $13,000 a year. So you're making an extra $1,200 a month. How much work are you really doing, to make that extra $1,200 a month? And how much would you really have to if you were working a traditional job? I don't think we value what we have. I don't think people value it. They think that if I'm not, making 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000, but you got to, you have to appreciate the $12,000 before you're ever going to, $1,200 before you can ever appreciate the 10,000 or the 20 or the 30 or the 40 or the 50 or the 60,000 a month, So vision wise, you got to paint a big vision, of what you see. I see millions of people, millions, and not just thousands, millions of people, lives changed because I said yes to the Juice Plus business, and that I really gave it a strong yes, and that I empowered other leaders to have the same, the same vision. And I know not everybody's going to do it, but, I appreciate every person for where they're at. It makes me sad when I see people that they see what I'm doing and what I've been able to create and what my friends have been able to create. When you see your friends, when you walk in and I share this in Bournemouth, when you see one of your best friends, be able to buy a $1 million home, or when you see other people being able to do the things and it was because you said yes, that makes it all worth it, or being able to send their kids to a school that they wanted to send them to, or be able to go on a trip because you said yes. So you're going to have to, I love what Woody Comstock says. You got to talk to a slop of people, a shitload of people. You got to talk to a shitload of people. And unless you're willing to talk to a shitload of people, trust me, I have my frustrations. Do you know how many people I start and they still don't do anything? Trust me, I've got plenty. I think I'm 116 wide, 116 wide front line. Of those, maybe 12 are doing 12, 15 of them are doing something, So that's the numbers, Anyway,
Lauren,
that's what I would share with you.
That is unbelievable. We're going to leave it there with you. I want to ask everybody else to stay on the call, but we are just so grateful for you being with us tonight, and that is just totally awesome. So we wish you a wonderful day, and I think everybody on the call would want to just touch you, bless you, and thank you so much for your amazing time with us today.
You're very welcome, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Cool. Okay. Bye. And we're going to stay
Bye.
on the call now and talk a little bit about Liverpool. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Bye.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Gordon, are you there? Gordon?
Yes. Hi, James.
Hey, fantastic. Michelle and Gordon. Woo! What a call that was. My God, that was just
amazing. I have written something in the region of about 10 pages. I've never stopped writing the whole time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely extraordinary. So look, let's just finish up now and talk a little bit about Liverpool, and most importantly, the dinner, because of course we've got a deadline by the end of this coming week, haven't we, for everyone to get their money in for the dinner. So can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, certainly. Well, this is our kind of traditional thing that we do when we go to conference, in that we have an Aquila dinner. We invite some VIP guests, and certainly one of the outstanding kind of sessions I remember we had in the same room, we had Jay Martin, John Blair, and Mark Ledoux, and they actually kind of talked to us almost like, friends talking to each other, but on the microphone, about what this business means. We had imagine having 3 people like Lauren in the room just talking to you about their business. It was like a pre-conference training. But we've got to get together this coming Friday, the 13th, when we're at the conference, and that's going to be at Liverpool Football Club. And I've invited a number of people and sent out invitations to a number of VIP guests, and one of which came back to me and said, I can't believe that you're going to have the conference, the dinner at the Liverpool Football Club. He says, since a child, I've been a Liverpool supporter. And that was Manfred Lamprecht. And he's a for sure guest with his wife, Sabine.
So tell us about Manfred. What does he do with the company? Some people
Manfred is the Chief Scientific Officer for Europe. So his brief is to follow through and to help to kind of start all the scientific studies that go with Juice Plus, And recently I remember having a conversation with him, and he told me that on a monthly basis, they get presented with 4 or 5 different people wanting to use Juice Plus as a scientific study. And he kind of looks at those, he analyzes them, he selects the ones that he feels comfortable about doing, and obviously he pays for that. And so he's doing a fantastic job, and I'm sure he's going to be on the main stage. I think he's on Friday morning or afternoon, and he's going to be talking about some of the impact in terms of the new studies that are out. So that's exciting. We're also going to have Sue Aldred there, and Sue's going to be talking in the breakout session along with Jeff Montague-Smith. I saw Jeff on the call. And this year we've decided to kind of amalgamate together with our kind of team. So normally it's Sue Worrell, myself, Michelle, and James, the teams that really kind of come along to this. But last February we invited the Irish, so we had the Irish Horse, and that was an interesting meeting. But the first thing that Eddie and Damien said to me straight after the conference was that they'd like to book the next meal for the next conference there and then, and they were willing to pay the credit cards out there and then. So I think that was a testimony. This year we're going to have Jeff and Nikki Tolson's team as well. And in fact, I did a Zoom call for Carol Wilcox, and I think she's coming along with her team too. So yeah, we'll have maybe upwards of about 120, maybe even more people. So we're going to have a 2-course meal. We're going to have wine on people's tables, and we've also got a DJ coming along for some dancing.
Yeah,
so
and
there you
have it, James. It's a room, isn't it? Because we've been up there. We actually went up to Liverpool to check this out, and the room is a fabulous room. I mean, it's stunning when you walk in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bar area. I mean, a superb circular bar, and then you've got a view over the pitch.
Yeah. I'm sure the ladies would love that view.
Yeah.
But the actual name of the room is called the Beautiful Game, and it holds up to 200 people. So there's the limit if you want to do it. Yeah. But tickets need to be bought and paid for. I need to have final numbers by this Friday. We're dealing with not a hotel where we can just go and pay last minute. We're dealing with a conference facility where we've got to have, kind of all sorts of things paid before we actually go there. So that's the deal. I mean, everybody knows I'll be sending around another email. It's £35 for everybody. It's a cash bar in between all the things that we are providing. So, there'll be lots of opportunities for you to network with as many people. And that's the real key to a lot of the conferences. When Lauren said conferences are non-negotiable, it's the networking in between the actual conferences themselves that is the most powerful thing, I feel, when you go to these conferences. Yeah. And I was speaking to a couple today about that. I believe if you come to conference, you'll be 6 months ahead of anyone else that doesn't come to conference.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So, I mean, really, that says it all. I mean, the dinner is going to be absolutely spectacular. It's, for a lot of people, it will be the highlight of the whole conference. And as you so rightly said, Gordon, it gives people an opportunity to network with each other and hear stories from each other. That's the most powerful thing. And we'll have some speeches from the microphone, which will be always incredible. And I think we've got some super, super extra special guests that we can't really talk about now. But it will be an amazing evening. Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you very much. It's pretty much, we're up pretty much almost on for an hour, but I think you'll agree with me that it was worth hanging on for an incredible call today with Lawrence Slocum. I think in terms of energy, that is the most outstanding call that we've ever had. So it is recorded, and I will get that out to everyone. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. And we will see you also tomorrow night in London, if you're coming, at the Beaufort House Private Members Club in the King's Road. We will be there at 7:30. Superb venue. Okay, everyone, take care and have a great evening. And if we don't see you tomorrow, see you in Liverpool. Okay, good night. Take care.
Bye. Bye. Bye.